Here's what you can look forward to on this episode of The Nice Guys on Business.
And if you are in the workplace, especially with women who are in midlife, it is vitally important that you understand where they are and what they're going through, because not all women are affected the same way. But the way that women are treated is usually very, very bad all the way across. So if we can look at women in midlife and say, hey, these aren't old crones. These are strong women with decades and decades of experience who might be going through something physical that needs to be addressed. And we need to have a little bit of compassion and grace for that and give them the tools and skills and support that they need. Then everyone succeeds. So unless you live in a cave, locked in a box inside the cave, wrapped in blankets inside the box inside the cave, you are affected by menopause, period.
What are we going to do today? Same thing we do every day, Pinky. Try to take over the world. Oh, and listen to the Nice Guys on Business podcast, of course. Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by TurnKey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
All right, so nice guy community. Imagine navigating a road that you've never been on. I mean, so many twists and turns, and many others have actually been on this same road before you, but most really don't understand what to advise you about the road ahead before you, because they know how to deal with the road that's rolled out in front of them, and they know what they've seen. But for you, well, it might be going somewhere else, and you might have a different destination in mind. Well, today's guest, I've been talking completely in metaphorical sense, but Joelle Casteix, her goal is to provide a detailed roadmap helping others navigate their journey. Now, guys, you will think when you hear about the subject matter that this is about the women in your life, but this is also about you. What affects the women in your life, affects you too. So, Joelle, we're going to chat about it. Welcome to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, so I know I spoke a lot metaphorically there, so I'm hoping you could bring it home. And I know that some listeners, especially some of the guys in our audience, are going to say, the fuck why did you bring me into this? And then, okay, so what subject matter are we talking about?
We are talking about midlife and menopause.
All right, guys, don't go away, because I promise you, whether it's your partner or the female companion, your wife, your mom, they are all either having gone through it, they're going to go through it, or they are in it right now. They're in the hunt. And this is such an important subject matter. Joelle, why was this, or how did this become your life's mission?
Well, I don't know if I call it my life's mission. It is my latest crusade. So I started my career as a advocate for survivors of child sexual abuse, and then I got into parenting. I became a parenting expert and abuse prevention expert because I was a parent and because I knew how to prevent abuse, and that was my passion. That's what I did with it. And then I'm in my 40s, everything's going great. And then I hit 50 and everything went to shit. And
okay.
And I can, and you started swearing before I did, so it's all good.
That's okay. That's good.
But it was, I looked around and, I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I felt bad. I looked worse. These weird things were happening to my body. I didn't, I gained all this weight. I was cranky. No one wanted to be around me. And I realized that this is happening to a lot of other women my age.
Yeah.
And then thinking back, I was like, gosh, I think it happened to my mother. Oh, wow. I think it happened to my sister. But you know what? Nobody talked about it. And because nobody talked about it, it was this weird taboo subject. And it really falls in line with how I have lived my professional life. So, I spent the first 20 years normalizing the discussion about preventing child sexual abuse because everyone's like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. And I think that we've really, as a society, come a long way in openly talking about it and helping survivors and helping children prevent abuse and helping communities prevent abuse. And I realized we kind of need to do the same thing about menopause because
Why do you think that is? Why? I mean, it's a transition of life. It's the next chapter. Actually, we'll talk about your
yeah,
podcast in a little bit, the next chapter. But it is just the next chapter. Why is there such a is there a stigma attached to it, or is there just a silence attached to it, or what is it?
well, one would think that since half of the population will go through menopause if they reach age 60, that it would be something that we talk about. But, if you even look back historically, um, if you go back, even to the ancient Greek and Roman times, women had no use after they were no longer fertile. So nobody cared. And that isn't just me being bitter and all that. This actually, this is what historians have found. So women
Right.
didn't have a use unless they were seen as the old woman passing on wisdom and value. And then as people started living longer and longer, and a larger majority of women were going well past menopause, they were dismissed because the symptoms that go along with menopause could easily be um, dovetailed with the symptoms that went with PMS and all those other things, which is just, we call these women crazy. We call them hysterical. We say that it is a moral flaw, that there's something wrong with their womb, they're the weaker sex. And so no one really cared. No one did anything. And it wasn't until like the 60s that people began to understand, well, once women don't make estrogen, well, their bodies don't work the same way. It has nothing to do with their moral
Right.
well-being. It
Of
has
course.
nothing to do with their mental health. None of that. It's a full body problem. Well, everything takes a while. And there was even a flawed study in 2001 that said that, and anyone who's dealt with menopause or someone in menopause has heard about this thing called hormone replacement therapy, where they give women hormones to replace the ones that they've lost. And there was this horrible flawed study that came out in 2000 that also set everything back. So what we've seen in the past 5 to 10 years has been a sea change. And that has been led by, I believe, the Gen X generation, people like me, and the fact that we have pop culture stars who are aging
Mhm.
into their 50s and 60s and are willing to talk about it and
Absolutely.
look great too. So that's, I think, really important, because if you look back even 20 years, once a woman was 50, her career was done. She didn't exist. She evaporated. And so it became my passion, because I realized that even though many of these, pop culture people are still sticking around, in the workplace, women are vanished. In marketing, women are vanished. And so the more that we can talk about it, the more that we can create a community of women getting together and being like, we're going to defeat the bad stereotypes and the bad medical advice together, and really begin that conversation, so we can do with menopause what we did with sexual abuse prevention, and just make it something, everyone goes through it. There's nothing wrong with you. And we have great advancements in science that can help everyone feel better.
I remember having an initial conversation with you. This is a few months back when we first started to put together the seeds of the podcast that you have now just launched. And by the way, Nice Guy Community, I'll make sure we put a link in the show notes for Joelle's podcast as well, so you can get an opportunity to listen to it. But I remember you were sharing. I don't remember the event that you were at, but you went somewhere and you started having a conversation with other women that have been through the same thing, and you're like, this is probably a good place for me to plant my stake in the ground, because this is an opportunity for me to share and help others get through this challenging stage in their life, because so many people have journeyed through this down this road, but aren't necessarily sharing the stories that they've been through. Can you talk about maybe those initial early stages of you putting together some of the seeds of your idea about what you're potentially going to offer clients or people that are going through this?
Well, this all started with a book idea, because I realized there really wasn't anything that was accessible, and I really wanted to be enjoyable. I didn't want a medical book. I wanted a book that took medical knowledge. I didn't want a financial book. I wanted a book that took financial knowledge. I didn't want a fully humorous book, but I wanted a book that made people laugh out loud.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I was playing around with it, and I do a lot of fundraising for causes to prevent child sexual abuse and stuff like that. And I was speaking at a fundraiser, And I had just had the worst time, and I was having a hot flash, and I was cranky and everything else. And I got up there, and a lot of it has to do with telling my story, which is a long story about being sexually abused as a child. But I said, the person you see up here is not that person. What you see here is a menopausal machine. And the audience went bananas.
Wow.
I mean, women like stood up and clapped. And it resonated so well that the after effects of that fundraiser, we really didn't raise the money that we needed to raise, but I got a lot of excellent feedback from people saying, we need to talk more about this. We need to do more about this. And I'm like, wow, I have really struck a nerve.
Well,
Because
okay, so maybe, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm just curious. So what was there? The menopausal machine, that was the spark that ignited this flame, and that passion was shifted, or was added on in addition to the other passions that were in your life to try to work through and work on. And so what were you finding as a direct result of you mentioning the menopausal machine? What did women, or the guys that were in that audience, what were they looking for? Like, what were some of the things that you were hearing?
the women were looking for mastermind groups. They're looking for roundtables. They're looking for places where they can really talk about what's going on. They're looking for a place where they can find relevance and take back the conversation. Women are looking for tools and skills that they can take into the workplace when they're being devalued because they've hit a certain age. They're looking for guidance from women who've already been through it. They're looking to mentor those who are going into it, because women, and I can't speak for all women, but many, we're caretakers, we're genetically programmed to be caretakers. And when you go through something really kind of challenging, you want to help someone else not go through that challenging thing. So I'm finding that women are wanting to get together. They're wanting to get the help and skills and tools that they need. They need a sounding board. They need advice. And as when I realized that a podcast and then going into mastermind groups and coaching and things like that is invaluable for women who are going through menopause, and for women who are struggling with all of the other, because it's bigger than menopause, it's midlife. And I think that I should really talk about that as well, because while women are going through menopause, they're dealing with aging parents, grown-up kids, career changes, trying to figure out if they want to retire, if they can retire, their relationships. I mean, if you've been with someone for 20 years and all of a sudden you look at them, I'm like, I don't know. Or many women have relationship changes due to death or divorce, or people who are growing. So that midlife is just this huge minefield, and no one should have to go through it alone.
It's interesting. I purposely did not interrupt, break in, share a word at all during that portion of us doing this interview. And Nice Guy community, sometimes I'm trying to talk to you, and sometimes I'm going to talk to Joelle. So for this quick second, Nice Guy community, just put me on pause in your brain for a second. Joelle, I want to talk to you as a creator of this business that's doing this. That last 2.5 or 3 minutes, as you were sharing, that's what I want you to have on your website. That's the stuff where I can see, oh my gosh, if I am somebody that is hot about this topic, pardon the pun, hot flash about this topic. If I'm somebody that's hot about this topic and I see that, you've just explained the difference between not only menopause and midlife, but you've shared so many of the things: mastermind, panel conversations. I don't know if you said retreats, but I threw it in there. Anyway, all of the tools, the tips, the things that you need. That's the stuff that is going to generate the wealth of programs that I know that you're going to come up with. And I know you're in the early stages of that and creating that. And I'm excited to be a part of the early stage of this journey. And for those in our Nice Guy community, back on with you two right now, in our Nice Guy community that are going through, know someone that is going through, thinking about someone that is in your life that is challenged by either midlife or menopause, that's why I want you to go over to Joelle's website. We'll make sure we put a link in the show notes for that. Sorry, Joelle, didn't mean to go off track there. I just thought all of that stuff that you said was like so critical for your mission.
Well, it's funny. It's, as you're saying, I'm like, make note, get transcript.
Right, exactly. And I will. I'll give you the video. I'll give you the transcript. I will give you it all. So advance through this process for just a second. Now we've discovered and we've tweaked an interest by someone in our community. What's the hope and the thought? Where do you think you're going to put your first stake in the sand? I know that one-on-one coaching and helping and counseling is or I don't know if you can call it counseling.
Yeah, it's coaching.
Coaching,
Because I'm
right.
not. Yeah,
Right, I got it. Sorry, didn't mean to give you a certification all out of the
you can
gate
give me
there.
all the certifications you want. We'll just pretend. Yeah,
She's got a PhD, something in Doug. I don't know.
yeah.
Anyway, so what are some of the early on manifestations that what are you creating with this? What do you hope to create?
Well, I want to create a community that meets women where they're at. And so a lot of women won't be ready for one-on-one coaching, but maybe they'll be ready for a roundtable where they want to just talk to people about what's going on with them and give ideas. Because a lot of times before people jump into one-on-one coaching or group coaching, they're like, I just want to sit around a table and talk about what's going on because I really don't understand.
Right.
So, we have roundtable. We have, I'm hoping to have group coaching. Small and large group coaching, because a lot of times when it comes to an issue that's as touchy as menopause, it's very embarrassing to talk one-on-one with someone if that's not what you're comfortable with. But if you have a large group coaching, and a large group could be anywhere from like 10 to 300 people, I don't know if I'd ever get that big. But once you hear that there are like 25 other people who are struggling with the exact same thing you are, even if you don't say a word, you suddenly know you're not alone. Yeah. You suddenly know that you're not crazy. You suddenly know that you're not doing something wrong. And so I want to do that kind of coaching. I would like to do one-on-one coaching with those who are really interested in, and this is where when it comes to business and career change, because midlife really is a time of change. And it's not like change in our 20s where we just get a new apartment and dye our hair. You can't do, well, you can do that, but this is not the kind of change we're talking about. And you get very set in your ways once you hit a certain age, and there's a security in that. And there's a lot of fear that comes with things like retirement, career change, following your passions, letting your children fly, letting your children fail, figuring out where you fit into your current career path. And so I plan on offering that as well. And then you did bring up retreats, and that's something I've been playing around with because I would like to offer some kind of retreat mechanism. And I am working on how to put that together that will provide women the emotional, spiritual, and physical support that they need during menopause. And that can be, when you have a small group of women going somewhere, talking, bringing in specialists to give presentations and stuff like that, as well as dealing with, allowing to do things like yoga and hiking and things that help people bond and really create the world that they want to live in as they hit into the next phase of their life.
Talk to me for a quick second, because there's a number of people in our community a number of listeners that are guys in our community. And, at some point they are waiting for how does this affect me? So you probably have a bird's eye view on how this affects the male counterpart in the relationship. So can you share a little bit about that?
Well, I take it from, in my past career iteration, when people are like, well, why do I care about child sexual abuse? I'm like, you were a child, you know a child, you love a child, everyone was a child, it matters. Right. And you can then get all the finances and stuff like that and how it destroys communities, all that stuff. But really, you got to hit them there. And it's the same thing with menopause. If you are in a relationship with any woman whatsoever, and that could be a romantic relationship, that can be a work relationship, that can be a neighborly relationship, it could be familial, it could be your mother, your sister, it affects you. And if you are in the workplace, especially with women who are in midlife, it is vitally important that you understand where they are and what they're going through, because not all women are affected the same way, but the way that women are treated is usually very, very bad all the way across. So if we can look at women in midlife and say, hey, these aren't old crones. These are strong women with decades and decades of experience who might be going through something physical that needs to be addressed, and we need to have a little bit of compassion and grace for that and give them the tools and skills and support that they need, then everyone succeeds. So unless you live in a cave, locked in a box inside the cave, wrapped in blankets inside the box inside the cave, you are affected by menopause, period.
Understood. And you'll be able to get Nice Guy Community. You'll be able to get more information about what Joelle does and how she does it directly on our show notes. So just go ahead and click over to the show notes, whether you're listening Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. The show notes are the same. If it's not a clickable link, just copy and paste Joelle's website directly in your browser, and you'll be able to head over there. Okay, so let's get to the part where we talk about some of the fun stuff that's new and improved and crazy in your life. Like, okay, I have all these things that I'm learning at one time and I'm building this business, and I may as well just start a podcast now too. So talk about your podcast. I've listened to the first couple of episodes. We're fortunate to be able to produce and distribute the podcast for you. So talk about it, name it, share it, tell us all about it.
So the podcast is called Next Chapter Women, the New Midlife, because I didn't want it to solely focus on menopause, because there are many women who don't have the issues of menopause, but we all have the issues of midlife. And I think that we are so focused on dealing with people when they're younger that we lose sight. So I have the podcast. I realized it would be the best way to really engage in a meaningful conversation with women and people who love women who are going through midlife and menopause. And I just totally forgot what your question was.
Well, no, you started this podcast. What are people going to learn if they go to the podcast or start listening? I know you've had some solo casts just early on in your journey so far. You've had a couple of solo casts that you've put together and recorded. You've had some guests that have been on the show. Tell me a little bit about the format and what you hope to accomplish with the show.
Well, I plan on doing a couple of different things with the show. One is the solo broadcast. I'm not going to have a whole lot of those, but I think that there are times, like my first one was Menopause 101, because I think people just don't know. And I didn't want to dive into subjects.
Thank you. You taught me a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you did. You taught me a lot.
Yeah, I didn't want to dive into subjects with an expert when I haven't given people the background. Right. I'm interviewing women who are successful in business who are going through midlife. I'm interviewing health experts, mental health experts, I have a financial planner coming in. I have an expert in personal training for midlife. Mm-hmm. And then I'm also talking to women one-on-one who are going through issues with all these things, and we're hammering out what's going on with them and how we can bring in all these experts to help them really deal with the issues that are most important in their lives.
Awesome. And again, I'll put a link in the show notes directly to Next Chapter Women, the New Midlife. That'll be right in the show notes. Again, don't have to worry about remembering the name or anything. Just click on it. The Spotify link is right in there. Or if you're an Apple Podcast fan, Overcast, wherever you're listening, the show is there. I'm also assuming that Joelle would be happy to take suggestions from those in our listening audience, as she is early on in her podcast reign. Are there certain subjects that you'd like to know more about? Are there certain services that you think that Joelle should be offering as well? And I know that she's very open and eager to pay attention to what's going on in the marketplace that she is working within. Advance this thing down the road. Let's say that we're now a year down the road. You've created some products and services. What's the impact that you would hope to have with the services that you're bringing out to the world?
Well, I want it to turn into a multi-pronged platform. I have a book in the works that I would like to be published by a mainstream publisher and get on that side of things. I would love to continue with the podcast and other media opportunities to reach as many women as possible, live and in-person events and motivational speaking. And I'm hoping that I can just have a complete outreach program so that no woman or anyone who loves a woman is confused about what the hell's going on when they hit midlife.
And if you're in our Nice Guy community and you feel like you are qualified to be a power partner, meaning you have that audience or a portion of your market, your audience that you reach would be attracted to Joelle's message, certainly feel free to reach out directly to Joelle. I'll make sure I put links to her social media channels in the show notes as well. Is there anything that I am forgetting to ask you? Any obvious questions? Me as the dude here, trying to think about, okay, well, what else would my audience want to know? Anything that I should be sharing with our community?
addressing the issues of midlife is good business. And I'll tell you why. Menopause care is sorely underfunded. It gets a fraction of the medical investment and R&D spending that other medical problems have. In fact, when you go to the doctor and they give you that super bill and they have a diagnosis code for everything from too much nose hair to my toenail smells,
Right?
they do not have a diagnosis code for menopause.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And
probably have all the symptoms, but not the overall diagnosis.
Exactly. And so, and by doing this and treating the whole woman and not just someone as a set of symptoms, that is also good business because that translates into so many other areas of our lives. And I'm not just saying women's lives, I mean everyone's lives, because the more we understand about the whole woman in menopause, the more we'll understand about the whole woman earlier on, and the more we'll understand about motherhood and old age for all women and for the men that they take care of or who take care of them as well. So it is good business. It's very good business.
I'm gonna put an additional asterisk on that. It's excellent business because, guys, we all know who controls the money in the family. So the women control the decisions in the family. It's just how it is. If you think it's different, then they've tricked you. They've made you believe that you have some control.
I don't have the numbers here in front of me. I wish I did, but women between 48 and 65 are some of the largest spenders in the marketplace, outspending the men of the same age. And, are there any marketing campaigns geared towards them that aren't, I leak and, things like that. I mean, it's crazy. So it is very, knowing how to target these women, if you have a business, can quadruple your income.
Totally agree. All right. That is a good indicator right there. So guys, Nice Guy community, make sure that you connect with Joelle. The midlife market is an amazing market that is a good business move if you start focusing, if you haven't already focused on that market. Joelle, thank you for sharing. Thanks for your expertise. Thanks for being on the show today, and appreciate you and your message. And thank you for the business as well. Thanks for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And it's been an absolute joy working with everyone at TurnKey Podcasts.
Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice or the power of the women in your life that are going through midlife themselves. Special thanks to Joelle. All of her information, including access to her website, her YouTube video, I'm going to throw it in there as well so you can see her, her TEDx talk, so you can see her TEDx talk. And of course, to Next Chapter Women, the new midlife podcast will be right in there. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in.